Come closer, beloved. Do not rush past this moment. I need your full presence right now. Not because of fear, not because of drama, but because heaven is active in your story in this exact breath. Let the outside noise fall away. Let the questions quiet themselves for a moment. There is a reason your spirit leaned in when you saw this. God is not accidental. Timing is one of his favorite languages, and this timing carries protection. You have felt it for a while now, a pressure you couldn't explain, a subtle unrest that came and went without logic. Some days it showed up as tiredness, other days as hesitation, other days as a knot in your chest when a certain name crossed your mind. You tried to brush it off, you told yourself you were overthinking, but heaven has been whispering to you longer than you realized, and today the whisper becomes clear. God says, I am trying to save you from a man. Not a stranger, not someone distant, a man close enough to know your rhythms, close enough to hear your prayers spoken out loud, close enough to smile at you while holding intentions that did not match his words. This is not meant to frighten you. Truth does not come to harm you. Truth arrives to remove what has been quietly draining you. Do not panic when recognition begins to stir. Recognition is not accusation. Recognition is alignment. Heaven never exposes to shame. Heaven reveals to protect. God's hand is on your shoulder right now, gently pulling you back from something that never truly belonged in your future. You are not losing anything of value in this moment. You are being spared. You trusted him. That matters. Your trust speaks well of your heart, not poorly of your discernment. You saw good because you carry good. You believed because faith flows naturally from you. God does not rebuke you for hoping. He intervenes because your hope was being used against you. There is a difference. This man appeared at a moment when you were open, vulnerable in quiet ways, ready for progress, ready for connection. The timing felt right. The words sounded aligned. Even his interest in your life seemed almost divinely placed. But not every door that opens is sent by God. Some doors are distractions dressed as answers. Listen carefully. God says the delay you experienced was not punishment, it was protection. The stalls, the slowdowns, the sudden confusion around plans that once felt clear. These were not failures. They were heaven pressing pause while unseen conversations unfolded around you. Conversations that involved your name, but not your well-being. You sensed something was off, didn't you? Small things. Inconsistencies that didn't add up but were easy to excuse. Promises that sounded beautiful but never fully landed in action. A smile that didn't always reach the eyes. Moments when the energy shifted for no clear reason. You called it sensitivity. God calls it discernment. There were nights you felt heavy without knowing why. Conversations that ended and left you strangely empty. Laughter that felt real on the surface but hollow underneath. You questioned yourself. You wondered if you were imagining things. Heaven saw it all. Nothing escaped God's awareness. Not a single word spoken in secret. Not a single intention hidden behind charm. God waited because timing matters. He waited until the protection prepared for you was strong enough to hold what was about to be revealed. He waited until you were ready to receive truth without breaking. That moment is now. Breathe. Stay here. This is rescue in real time. There is a man whose presence became familiar. He had access to your time, your energy, your trust. You gave him space at your table. Meanwhile, other tables existed, other rooms, other conversations where your name was used without honor. In public, he spoke with admiration. In private, he benefited from information that was never meant to be traded. Do not tremble. You are not powerless. You are protected. Archangel Michael has been assigned to this intersection of your life, sword drawn, standing between what tried to enter and what God has already promised you. That is why certain things never fully collapsed. That is why you are still standing. God says, I stepped in before it went further. The plan against you was nearing completion. The entanglement was tightening, and then heaven intervened. Not loudly, not dramatically, but decisively. Doors began to close. Words lost their influence. The mask began to slip. You may feel shock as clarity settles in.
That is normal. Shock gives way to understanding. Understanding gives way to peace. From this moment forward, deception loses its grip. You will see clearly. You will move freely. This is a turning point. Hear this deeply. Not every connection is a blessing. Some are tests. Some are lessons. Some are traps wrapped in familiarity. When this man entered your life, it felt right. It looked right. It sounded right. But alignment is proven in consistency, not performance. He mirrored your language, echoed your values, spoke about growth, destiny, and support. But behind the words was a second script, one written for personal gain, not shared victory. God saw the script, and God said, "Enough." You were never meant to carry the weight you felt around him. That heaviness was not yours. It was a warning. Your spirit recognized it long before your mind caught up. That tightening in your chest, that sudden fatigue after interactions, those were signals, not weaknesses. God says, "I am removing what was draining you quietly." Not everything harmful arrives loudly. Some harm whispers. Some harm smiles. Some harm blends in until it is taken too much. Heaven intervenes before that happens. Stay present. Do not drift. The name will come into focus not as punishment, but as release. Awareness breaks agreements that were never meant to exist. Once you see clearly, you are no longer bound. This is not the end of a chapter. This is the correction of one. What was delayed will now move. What was blocked will now open. What was confused will now make sense. God is faithful to complete what he began in you. Rest here for a moment. Let your breathing slow. Let the truth settle without resistance. You are safe. You are seen. You are protected. And heaven is not finished speaking.
Stay with me, beloved. Do not pull back now. What God is revealing is not meant to overwhelm you, but to steady you. Truth does not rush. Truth unfolds at the pace your spirit can hold. You are doing well. Your heart is strong enough for what is being shown, and heaven is guiding every breath you take through this moment. The name you are sensing does not arrive as thunder. It arrives as recognition, a quiet alignment inside you, a sudden clarity where confusion once lived. God does not shout names to shock you. He allows awareness to rise so that freedom can follow naturally. When the realization settles, you will understand why your spirit felt uneasy long before your mind could explain it. This man's influence did not come through force, it came through access, subtle access, repeated access, the kind that grows simply because it is familiar. He learned your rhythms, he observed your patterns, he listened more than he spoke, not to understand you, but to position himself. That is why God intervened. Familiarity without purity becomes a doorway for interference. God says, "I allowed you to see his kindness, but I blocked his reach." That is why certain plans never fully materialized. That is why opportunities tied to him stalled or dissolved. Heaven was cutting threads quietly while you were still hoping things would improve. Protection often feels like confusion until clarity arrives. You wondered why momentum slowed, why progress felt uneven, why things that once flowed suddenly required more effort. It was not because you lost favor, it was because favor was shielding you. The delays were not resistance, they were redirection. God was preventing alignment with something that would have cost you more than you realized. This man spoke about unity, but he moved in division. He spoke about loyalty, but he operated through advantage. He spoke about support, but he siphoned energy rather than supplying it. You sensed it when words did not match outcomes, when promises felt heavy instead of hopeful, when interactions left you drained instead of strengthened. God says, "I saw what he was doing with the information you trusted him with." Some of your words were repeated in rooms you never entered. Some of your ideas were reshaped for gain that did not include you. Some of your vulnerabilities were treated as leverage rather than responsibility. Heaven recorded every exchange. Do not feel regret for being open. Openness is not weakness, it is discernment in development. God trains discernment through experience, not isolation. You were learning.
Heaven was watching, and when the lesson reached its end, the rescue began. This revelation comes now because the assignment against you expired. Darkness cannot linger where light has been invited intentionally. God waited until the moment where removal would not create damage, only clarity. That is divine timing. You may notice that memories are surfacing differently now, conversations replaying with new understanding, statements that once sounded harmless now revealing hidden layers. This is not obsession, this is illumination. Illumination always feels active before it feels peaceful. God says, do not confront, detach. This is important. Your freedom does not require explanation, it requires separation. Heaven handles what happens after you step away. You are not responsible for managing consequences that God has already assigned to himself. There is relief coming that you cannot yet fully feel, a lightness that will settle into your days quietly. Decisions will become easier, your intuition will sharpen, your energy will stabilize. That constant background tension you lived with will dissolve because its source is being removed. The reason this man underestimated you is because he misunderstood favor. He thought favor could be accessed through proximity. Favor responds only to alignment, and you are aligned with God, not manipulation. That alignment protected you even when you were unaware of it. Archangel Michael has not moved from his position. The guarding is active. The separation is precise. Nothing that belongs to you will be lost in this transition. Only what was draining you will fall away. That is a promise. God says, I am restoring your clarity. Where confusion once lived, confidence will return. Where hesitation ruled, certainty will grow. You will trust yourself again, not because you hardened your heart, but because you learned how to listen to it. You are not behind. You are not delayed. You were preserved. Preservation often looks like stillness. Stillness often feels like stagnation, but seeds are safest underground. And now emergence begins. Pay attention in the coming days, not with fear, but with calm awareness. You will notice distance forming naturally, conversations thinning, influence fading. This is not loss, this is alignment correcting itself. God says, what I am removing cannot follow you where I am taking you. The future prepared for you requires clean connections, pure intention, mutual honor. Anything else would fracture under the weight of the blessing ahead. This warning was not about danger alone, it was about direction. God is repositioning you, pulling you out of a narrative that was not yours to finish, rewriting the middle so the ending remains intact. You will not need revenge. You will not need validation. Clarity will be enough. Peace will be the confirmation. When heaven intervenes correctly, closure comes without chaos. Stay grounded. Stay present. Do not replay what no longer has authority. The season has shifted. You are stepping into cleaner air, lighter steps, stronger discernment. God is not finished yet. There is one more layer to reveal, one more reassurance to seal this moment. What comes next is not warning, but assurance, not exposure, but restoration. Remain here. Let this truth anchor itself in you. You are safe. You are guided. You are protected. And the hardest part of this revelation is already behind you.
Stay with me, beloved. This is the sealing moment. What God reveals, he also completes. What he exposes, he replaces with peace. You have walked through awareness, through clarity, through protection, and now you arrive at release. Not release through struggle, not through confrontation, but through divine authority. Heaven finishes what it begins. God says, you are no longer entangled. Hear that clearly. The cords that were quietly forming around your future have been cut. Not loosened, not weakened, cut. You are stepping out clean, whole, untouched by the harm that intended to linger. What tried to attach itself to your destiny has lost permission. You may feel emotion rising now, relief mixed with sadness, understanding mixed with disappointment. That is human. God does not ask you to deny your humanity. He meets you inside it. Let the feeling pass through without judgment. You are not grieving a person. You are releasing a version of a story that was never meant to finish. God says, do not look back to measure what almost happened. Near misses do not define you. Deliverance does. You were never meant to learn the lesson through pain. You were meant to learn it through discernment, and you did. That is victory. The reason this man could not go further is because heaven closed ranks around you. You may not have seen it, but protection surrounded conversations, decisions, delays, and disruptions. What felt inconvenient was actually precise. God adjusted your steps inch by inch until you stood safely outside the reach of what meant harm. Now comes the shift you have been waiting for. Momentum returns, but this time it is clean. Doors open without resistance. Conversations feel light instead of heavy. Opportunities carry peace instead of pressure. That is how alignment feels. That is how you will recognize what is truly sent by God. God says, I am restoring your trust in yourself. You questioned your intuition for too long. You doubted your inner knowing because you wanted to see the best in someone else. That kindness is not a flaw, it is a gift. Now it is paired with wisdom. Kindness with clarity is unstoppable. You will notice that your energy changes first, then your environment, then your outcomes. This is the natural order of divine restoration. You will sleep deeper, think clearer, decide faster. The fog that once surrounded choices will lift because its source is gone. Do not announce this separation. Do not explain it. Do not reopen doors for closure conversations. Closure has already happened in the spirit. Silence is not avoidance when God has spoken. Silence is agreement with heaven. God says, what leaves you now cannot follow you forward. The next season requires clean hands, clear eyes, and unburdened focus. You are stepping into responsibility that demands purity of alignment. Anything built on manipulation would have collapsed under what is coming. You may wonder why this had to happen at all, why you had to encounter someone like this. God says it trained your discernment without hardening your heart. You learned to listen inwardly. You learned that peace is the signal. You learned that God does not rush what he values. The future ahead of you is not fragile, it is fortified. The blessing prepared for you carries weight, and now you have the strength to carry it without interference. What is coming will not drain you, it will sustain you. God says, I am sending people who will protect your name in rooms you are not in. This is restoration. Where your name was once spoken without honor, it will now be spoken with respect. Where your energy was once taken, it will now be multiplied. You are not entering a season of isolation. You are entering a season of alignment. Connections will be fewer but purer. Conversations will be simpler but deeper. Trust will feel natural again because it will be met with integrity. Do not fear future relationships. Discernment does not mean suspicion, it means clarity. You will recognize alignment not by intensity, but by consistency. Not by emotion, but by action. Not by words, but by fruit. God says, I am proud of you. You listened, even when it was uncomfortable, even when it meant letting go of what felt familiar. Obedience does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like stepping back quietly. That quiet obedience just saved you. From this moment on, delays break, forward motion resumes. You will see evidence quickly, small confirmations first, then larger shifts. Pay attention to ease. Ease is the sign you are back in flow with God's timing. This chapter ends without chaos because heaven handled it. You do not need to revisit it. You do not need to analyze it. You are free to move forward unburdened. God says, lift your head. You are not behind. You are not damaged. You are not naive. You are refined. And refinement always precedes promotion. Take one deep breath. Let it go slowly. Feel how light your chest feels now. That is not imagination. That is release. That is protection settling into peace. This was your warning.
This was your rescue. This was your turning point. And now, beloved, this is your beginning. Remain steady. Walk forward. Heaven walks with you.